Hello again, it's time for more ref inspection. I'm your host Jay, and we're back with more roller derby action. We have a nice game for you today. This is a sanctioned game played in March 2026. We have a Tampere roller derby in red, currently WFTDA Europe rank 52. And we have a Helsinki roller derby Bs, current rank 67, playing in white. We are doing the front inside pack referee position, so we're gonna focus a lot on pack definition and contact penalties. And for our venue, it might look a little bit confusing at first, but we are looking at these orange borders here, not the white ones that are a bit more prominent. Nice lines there, 10 feet lines here, inside boundary, you get it. And let's get into the action. So we're gonna have this nice front-ish view of the pack. And what we are actually trying to look at is the front half of the pack is our main responsibility, along with helping a lot with the pack definition. Here, for example, we are looking that we hear the back inside pack ref is calling pack is here because this is more than 10 feet. So this is the pack currently. These skaters excuse me, these skaters here, they are within the engagement zone, so they can play, but they are not part of the pack, so they will get out of play if they get more than 20 feet from these. So we are already very, very close with the frontmost skater here. But the pack reforms, everybody's part of the pack. Quick jam. So we're focusing a bit less on the jammers this time around. Again, well, here again we hear like pack is here. This is the pack because it has the most blockers in it with both teams, skaters. And momentarily this foremost skater, that's what I'm calling, was already 20 feet from this one. So they are already out of play. But yeah, very quickly the pack situations change all the time, obviously. So yeah, a lot of time, small out of place, small no packs, they don't get called. And often when you have time to actually make the call, the situation's already changed. So when you're saying out of play, at that point they're actually not out of play anymore. But it's still important to call out those, especially when the lead is open, because there might have been a point where the jammer has already passed. Again here, clearly, this front skater already 20 feet from this one. Currently, it's not in the field of view if even this skater is part of the pack. And if you're wondering, I have this, habit of like, when I call out of play, I show with my other hand that this is the point where the bridge is broken, so to speak. So this is more than 10 feet, obviously, because these are 10 feet lines if you're newer to derby. So this is almost 20 feet already. This might be more of a lot of technical stuff. Pack definition, I think, is the one single hardest skating official skill to master. There's a lot of nuance, you need to have a lot of anticipation, it takes a lot of experience to handle common pitfalls like skaters returning from the penalty box. There's some commotion there, apparently maybe one skater thought that they got a penalty when they did not, so they are directed to return to the track. Play can go on. More contact penalties. I believe I was echoing the call that came from like the front OPR. The skater didn't hear because, well, it's a lot of noise and adrenaline on the track, so I was only relaying. Okay, let's see. So here there's a situation developing, so there's only white blockers here. This is a jammer, not part of the pack definition. There are well, red blockers in the front and only one white blocker. I sometimes call this, because this skater, if they go, well, let's go a bit forward. So if there's like a one skater whose actions can like make the pack go away, I call them the linchpin blocker. So that's where you keep the most focus on. And here what is happening is that, well, currently everybody is actually part of the pack probably, but there's a slight established pack speed going forwards, but the white skaters are going backwards, reforming the wall. And now you can see sort of there's a 10 feet line here, 10 feet line here, more than 10 feet here. So currently nowhere on the track there are skaters from both teams nearer than 10 feet, so we don't have a pack. And because the no pack situation was created by these white pivots, skating clockwise when the pack is not like completely stopped or going clockwise, then that is illegal destruction of the pack.
White 2, 4, destruction. Back is front. So, start pass complete, red team.
As you heard me say on the video, star pass for the red team, and we see, let's see what I'm showing here. Here there's contacts by the white jammer. The white jammer is gonna make contact to the back of this red 2-3, I believe. But it was not a back block, it was initiated by the red blocker, so that's what I'm showing there with a non-standard hand signal. While the white jammer is calling off the jam, we move on to the next one. I'm trying to communicate something else, but about who got lead. I sometimes chime in my opinion to the jammer referees if I think that one of the jammers got past everybody first. But obviously my biggest responsibility here is to watch this skater is clearly out of play. There's more than 20 feet, probably closer to 30 feet. Closer distance to the pack. And if the white jammer would have gone out of bounds due to that block, I probably would have assessed out of play block, because they initiated that block when they were out of play, even though the warning came a bit late. But I don't think there was sufficient impact to call a penalty. As we are already in the next jam, red jammer getting lead with a nice move on the inside, taking a whip. Calling initiator out there. There was a, well, situation is developing quite fast, but if a jammer gets hit out, then I'm helping the jammer referee by calling calling things like who I thought the initiator was, did they lose their superior position, things like that. Often the inside pack referees, they are like constant chatter to each other and to the jammer referees. Regardless of someone is listening or not, it's way easier to like get in the habit of like talking out your thoughts all the time. As there's cut assessed for the red jammer from the outside, so white team has a power jam. But yeah, as I was saying, it's way easier to like be babbling all the time than to like only select the few most important bits of information. Here another out of play called as a red blocker is chasing. Letting go in time, so again no penalties there. A slight contact to the back by the white jammer, not enough for a back block. Here we like sort of quote unquote take the ball with the pack because the pack is here. The back IPR, who usually has like the main ball of the pack definition, so to speak, they're busy watching back here if they're out of play, if there's contact out of place, anything illegal going on. So we announce that, okay, I know I got the pack, don't worry, you can look back there, I will keep a handle on this. Also, when this happens, as the front IPR, what I think is good and what I teach and do, at least try to do, is to come backwards. Usually as a front IPR you have this front perspective on the pack, but when you again quote unquote have the ball, it's good to be on the line at the same line as the pack you are holding. So that's what's happening here. And pack is all, so okay. Let's see. Yeah. Again, I had the pack here and it's been held up by this single red blocker in the front. And again we see this light established backspeed going the derby direction. And we see movement by this red blocker going clockwise to join the teammates, and that clockwise movement is what makes the pack go away. Again, that's illegal destruction of the pack. Even if the clockwise movement is quite subtle, as I'm kind of multitasking there, just had time to call the out of play and see if there's reason to call out of play block or failure to return, but again, no sufficient impacts. Often if the pack gets a bit messy, the inside pack refs, they have a lot on their plates, so at that point it's the job of the OPRs, the outside pack referees, to help out. So they are watching mainly the contact, and the main responsibility for the inside is to keep the pack definition going, because if the skaters don't know where the pack is, then that's not good. They don't know where they should be playing derby. They don't know if they should be taking some actions to reform the pack. As we move on to the next jam, no points scored for either team on that last scoring trip. A bit of handsy stuff going there. Let's see. I don't know. I have no idea. It was a bit too chaotic to call anything, certainly. Also to even see things from the footage. But usually if there's a lot of chaos going on, you can like console yourself that if there's something that has like actual large impact on the game, usually that sort of manifests itself more clearly, so your focus is being drawn into that. If like everybody's just sort of just waving their hands and like trying to stay upright, then I mean little forearms here and there, that's just derby. Bit of a pilot there. I believe the jammer ref was going to go to ask that how many skaters did my jammer actually pass in bounds and upright before the jam was over. There's again the inside pack ref communication, like I got the pack, calling the skaters like pack is here, pack is front. You can see you can very easily get confused about which is actually the largest parts of the track where there are skaters from both teams, and yeah. Calling out of play. I believe that was also echoed from the outside. Bunch of skaters committing multiplayer fouls. But yeah, maybe that was one small good example, that jam, about how it's very easy to get into a situation as the pack definer that hard to keep track of where the pack actually is, who are even the blockers. If you're looking back and you see a red skater there, you still need to know if that's a jammer. Things like that. You sort of develop these mental shortcuts. Maybe we'll come across some of them while we progress with the game. This was a very good game, quite tight, very physical, but not in a bad way, and quite chaotic packs. A lot of things going on. These teams are, well, as we see a jammer like flying, clearly was in a cut position, so they had to recycle back. But yeah, these teams have played each other like lots and lots and lots. A lot of close games. One of the recent years, this was the bronze medal match of the national series. It was decided in the last jam by only a couple points. Nice breaching there, so we didn't even have to call out of play. The foremost blocker playing at the edge of the engagement zone. But yeah, in a confusing situation like this, like where am I supposed to look? That's one of the hardships of the front IPR position, that you're sort of in the position to see the most. You can like see everywhere. Unlike this back position here, you have this much more sort of limited, more focused view. You see very clearly like cuts because you're on the line. You see the pack definition very well, but you don't really see like in the middle here if there are multiplayers, forearms going on in the middle of the pack, because you get obscured very easily. But in the front, we see everything. We see the pack. We are supposed to look at the pack. We see everything else as well. So how to focus? Well, one of the main shortcuts is that you are mainly responsible for the front half of the pack. So what that means is, well, we have 8 blockers at most on the track. Currently we have 7 because there's one white blocker in the penalty box. But so you have the four foremost blockers, and what I usually teach is you have the 4 and then take a +1, sort of, so you have overlap. But the things you start to filter out, because you need to filter out information because you can't take everything in. If you try to see everything, you see nothing. So first things to filter out is like, okay, I'm not interested in if these skaters are doing multiplayers and forearms or direction. I can't really be looking into that. My focus in this situation is like kind of these 4 blockers, and that's the only thing I'm focusing. Like everything from this area, I'm just like putting a black tarp over them. I don't want my brain to use any processing power looking at them. Slight stumbling on the feet there. I didn't see anything that I would call a low block. There was, yeah. Here, well, pretty clear situation. The white jammer being hit out by the red pivot. But red pivot being hit out as well. So the jammer is free to re-enter here. Obviously they can't re-enter here because they would be cutting all these other skaters. But that re-entry was perfectly fine. Nice chase by the white blocker there, not quite catching up to the jammer, but staying in bounds, staying upright, staying within the engagement zone. And that's what I'm focused on there.